These hands have touched death. They've clawed through icy waters, gripped slippery rocks, and defied the very laws of human survival. They belong to a man who should be dead, a man who swam for 6 hours in near-freezing waters when the human body typically gives up after one. This is the story of Guðlaugur Friðþórsson, an Icelandic fisherman who had faced a test of survival that defies explanation, leaving him stranded in the dark, frozen ocean miles from shore. The son of a fisherman, Guðlaugur was born in 1961. He first set foot on a boat at age 7, quickly learning to read the North Atlantic. He soon followed in his father's footsteps, working full-time at sea, his calloused hands a testament to the harsh life of an Icelandic fisherman. But the sea was more than just a workplace for Guðlaugur. It was home. The Westman Islands, a volcanic archipelago off Iceland's south coast, was where Guðlaugur called home. Here, life revolved around the fishing industry. Every day, men like Guðlaugur would set out to sea, their families praying for a bountiful catch and a safe return. On that fateful day in March, Guðlaugur and his 4 crewmates boarded the Halisay, a sturdy fishing vessel that had weathered countless storms. Their mission? A routine fishing trip, one of hundreds they'd done before. The weather was fair as they left port, the sea deceptively calm. None of the 5 men knew that in just a few hours they would be fighting for their lives. As night fell, the weather took a turn for the worse. Winds howled, waves crashed, and the temperature plummeted. But for experienced fishermen like Guðlaugur and his crew, this was nothing out of the ordinary. They'd seen worse and had lived to tell the tale. Or so they thought. At 10 p.m., disaster struck. Without warning, the Halisay's trawl net caught on the ocean floor. The boat was stuck, waves pounding the sides. The men realized the issue and scrambled to free the net. However, it was too late. In an instant, the world turned upside down. The ship capsized, throwing all 5 men into the frigid North Atlantic. The water temperature was a bone-chilling 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Survival time in such conditions? Typically less than an hour under the best of circumstances. In the chaos that followed, Guðlaugur watched in horror as panic overcame his crewmates. 3 of the men were able to pull themselves onto the hull of the upside-down boat. The other 2 succumbed to the frigid waters. However, as time passed, they realized sitting and waiting wasn't an option, and they could see a lighthouse faintly in the distance. 45 minutes after the disaster, the 3 men began to swim to the lighthouse, 3.7 miles away. Within minutes, Guðlaugur found his crewmates had disappeared. He was left alone in the vast, indifferent sea. This is where most stories would end, a rescue crew sent out to look for remains. But for Guðlaugur, it was just the beginning. With no life vest, no emergency beacon, and no hope of rescue, he made a decision that defied all logic and human limits. He kept swimming, towards a faint glimmer on the horizon that he knew must be land. For 6 grueling hours, Guðlaugur battled the waves. Each stroke was a war against his own body, screaming at him to give up. But something kept him going. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Guðlaugur reached land. Yet in another cruel twist of fate, the shoreline he'd reached was an unclimbable cliff, a wall of volcanic rock that might as well have been 1,000 feet high to his exhausted body. In that moment, Guðlaugur faced a choice that would break most. Stay on the rocks and likely freeze to death, or plunge back into the icy waters that had already claimed his friends, find a better landing. He chose to swim. Guðlaugur swam parallel to the coast, searching for a place to land. When he finally dragged himself ashore for the second time, his ordeal was still far from over. Barefoot and wearing nothing but a shirt and jeans, he now faced a 2-mile trek across a barren lava field sharp as razors. Every step was agony, his feet cut and bleeding on the blade-like rocks. But he pushed on for 3 more hours, leaving a trail of blood in the snow. Along the route, he found a bathtub with frozen water for animals, drinking what he could before carrying on. As dawn broke, Guðlaugur finally reached civilization, collapsing on the doorstep of a house in a small fishing village around 7 a.m. He was rushed to the hospital, and when doctors took his body temperature, it was found to be 93.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Hypothermia typically sets in at 95 degrees. He had been mere moments from death. Subsequent medical examinations revealed a possible explanation for his survival: an unusually thick layer of subcutaneous fat providing insulation against the cold, almost like a seal. This, combined with his mental fortitude, had kept him alive against overwhelming odds. Guðlaugur's ordeal lasted less than 24 hours, but its impact would span a lifetime. The bathtub in the lava field was left as a memorial. He alone survived that night, carrying with him the memory of his lost crewmates. But Guðlaugur refused to hide from the sea, returning to fishing just 3 years later in 1987.